How about now?
Oh yeah. Let me turn. Oh. We're doing some stuff here.
We're in a feedback loop.
Check. Are we in the? Are we even?
You hear me?
Yeah. No, I can't hear you, but I've got the. All right. So here we are in Peggs, Oklahoma, at the. This is a brain center. Oh man, we're sitting down together. I'm on my way to New Mexico, but we've been struggling trying to figure out how we're going to do this. And now here we are,
We got wires going everywhere.
everywhere.
We're just saying this is easier to do.
All right. So here's the weekly check-in. If you can hear me, tell us if the sound's all right because we're trying to figure this out. We're flying by the seat of our pants right here.
Yeah, we don't have any headphone.
No headphone. We're trying to use these mics. Listen out of my bad ear.
No, both my ears are bad.
You're gonna have to speak up if we're gonna do this because
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to sit where I can see your mouth move and
Yeah,
read
that's how-
lips and stuff.
That's how I am. I'm a lip reader.
Yeah, yeah. I try to make it up. So no, man. So I'm on my way to New Mexico and stopped into the Peggs plantation here, the Barnes plantation in Peggs to do an overnight because it's freaking hot.
It's pretty hot, like you were saying. So you're going from Indiana all the way to New Mexico. And what was that town you stopped in last time in Colorado?
Oh, when I went out to Colorado, I stayed in Castle Rock, and so the story behind that, I've was staying in a motel out there because we were out there for the UHC deal, the Save the Hunt Colorado, the fundraiser for the mountain lion hunting ban, and I was staying in a Hampton Inn in Colorado, and of course, Tough is my service dog. You know, by the way, anybody that's out there, it's against federal law for a hotel to ask you whether or not it's actually a service dog. All they can't ask you. So if you're traveling with a dog, all you got to do is say it's a service dog. Now, if they do any damage, you're responsible for it. Tough stays in the house with me every night, so I know it wasn't going to be a problem. But so when we got out there, I told him he was a service dog and kept him in the room overnight. Brought him down the next day, next morning. It was early too. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and brought him out, let him do his business. I wanted to go back in and take a shower and eat breakfast. And so I put him in that Dakota 283 kennel in the back of my truck, totally ventilated. It was like 50 degrees in the morning. Put him in there and took a shower, ate breakfast, stuff, went outside, was walking around the parking lot, and I see a police car pull up right in front of my truck. He starts walking around my truck. I walked over there. It's like, hey, how you doing? Can I help you something? And he's like, we got a call about your dog being in your vehicle on a 50-degree morning.
Yeah. Any dog can handle 50 degrees. That's perfect.
Perfect weather.
It's not cold. It's not hot.
Yeah, this police officer was super cool too. He's like, I know, we got a call on. I said, you want to come over here and look at him? We walk around to the Dakota 283, and he's sitting there. He's just like, looking at you. He's like, hey, what's going on? Let's get something I can chase.
People just can't mind their own business anymore.
Yeah, not at all.
And people have humanized dogs to the point where they think if they would be uncomfortable, that dog is uncomfortable, and they think it's their duty, to call in a situation like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which, I mean, obviously, we rely on these dogs for our fun, so we're not going to mistreat them in a way that would hamper our ability to hunt them and have fun. But people just don't get it. Like they tried 2 years ago here in Oklahoma to pass a law that said you had to bring your dogs inside your house, and they just said in severe weather, which they didn't define severe weather. So we beat that law, or that proposed law, pretty much on its vagueness, because I was like, what, if it's raining, I got to go out and bring all my dogs
Exactly.
out of a covered kennel into my house, or you know, I mean, what is extreme weather? I mean, we're in Oklahoma. Everything we have is extreme. It's either extremely hot, extremely cold,
It's
tornadoes.
extremely hot today.
Yeah. So
Well,
yeah,
that's why I was thankful for this stopover, because man, I can't even imagine it. I'm traveling with 5 hounds and Tough, headed out to New Mexico right now. And if I stop somewhere tonight, then somebody would have been calling the law on me for sure. But this police officer, so he said the management of the hotel called, and he said he's obviously not distressed. I'm good. I'm out of here. And I walked in. I went to the desk. I was like, "Did you call the police about my dog being in the truck?"
yeah,
And they're like, "Well, yeah, we had a guest complain about it." And I said, "What do you want me to do? Did you want me to bring him into the breakfast area with me this morning? Or are you glad that he's in the truck?" I said, "What kind of problems does that cause?" It's like, "Well, when we have a guest complaint, then we have to follow up on it." I said, "You took the easy way out. You did the absolute least you could do to resolve this issue." I said, "Why is that guest's concerns more important than mine?"
yeah,
Because they complained about somebody's fur baby being in a tree. He's spent the night in there, and he was like begging at the window. They said, "Well, he was barking." I said, "That is bull crap. That dog does not bark in that kennel
yeah,
at all." And I just laid into him, and I even filed a complaint with, because as much as I travel, I'm a Hilton's reward member, so I went ahead and filed a complaint.
yeah. I mean, it's just that one, people need to mind their own business, and two, if you have a problem with somebody, like if that guest had a problem, or they thought that there was a problem with the dog, why would they not just come talk to you? You know, or and then again, if the hotel thought there was a problem, why would the hotel not just come talk directly to you? Like, why do we have to use these law enforcement as mediators?
It's
If
what
you've
the
got a
public does.
Yeah, if you got a problem with somebody,
That's what I told him. I said, "Did you try to contact me? You didn't try to contact me. You did not try to resolve this issue at the lowest level possible. Your automatic response was, 'Well, we don't know what to do and we don't want to mess with it, so we're going to call the police.'" And in my complaint, I told him, I said, "You risk not only having my vehicle," I said, as a retired law enforcement officer, if there was a problem there, there's a potential for impounding my vehicle and my dog."
yeah, putting them all on the pound. Yeah, I mean, it could all be resolved super quick. I mean, either, like I said, either the hotel or the other guest, if they'd have just walked up to you and had a short conversation right there beside the
I'd have
truck.
walked out with the manager and said, "Come out here and see my dog.
Yeah.
Come out and look at him." But since when is another guest's concern more important than my concern?
Yeah, because it's about an animal, and people just have these, like,
Yeah.
we've elevated animals beyond humans.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So that's why I'm glad to stop here, because it's 100. It was 100 degrees when I hit St. Louis this morning at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
9:30. It was my truck hit 100 triple digits. I was like, "Holy smoke!"
And it does those dogs good, uh how I think how far did you say it was? 20, how many hours straight from
Total trip
Indiana to
total trip from my place to the ranch is around 20 hours.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of time in a dog
Yeah.
box. I think uh like when we used to travel long distances to hunt competitions, we tried to break that drive up, and where the dogs didn't just get out of at the dog box for 5 minutes, but they could actually get out for hours at a time. I think it does them a lot of good. I mean, you drive a dog cross country like that, and then pull them out of the box and expect them to perform even the next day. I mean, that's asking quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, Logan Campbell made a good comment. He said, I get nervous on out of state trips, even stopping for gas. Someone always remains with the truck and dogs at all time. I'm the same way, Logan, man. When I like even parked under the shade of the canopy, and I've got all the vents pulled out of the dog box right now so you can see all the way through it, and dogs, but they're not stressed. I'm looking at them and I know they're not stressed. But the average person
They don't know
that
that.
doesn't know anything about dogs, and they're like, well, and I'll tell you something else I do when I pull into the gas station. Before I pull in, I'll roll all my windows down so it looks like I'm riding in the same temperature that
Yeah.
they're riding. And seriously, it's
Yeah.
that way. It's like I've got my windows down. I'm riding in this heat. They're
Yeah.
riding in this heat.
Yeah, I've done the same thing, like hauled dogs and stopped at a hotel for the night, and I never sleep good because all night I'm just thinking about,
Hmm.
is somebody going to take a dog out of a box, or somebody going to call the law? Yeah, it's never fun to
I
sit.
knew a guy one time. He was hauling puppies. He was hauling puppies, and I forget what hunt it was. It was like I'm gonna say it was blue tick days or something. But he pulled into a hotel and he spent the night. And this wasn't it was just your average hotel out in the country. And they called the police on him because his dogs were out there in the dog box and those puppies were crying.
Yeah.
And so they called the police, and the police came up. He wakes up at like 2 o'clock in the morning with somebody knocking on his door. And he just looked at him and goes, "Are you kicking me out of this hotel? Do you really want, are you going to treat a customer like that? I'm paid up. I got this room till morning." Said no. And he said, what's your solution to this? And they said, well, you can't keep your dogs in the truck. So he brought them all in and put them all in the bathroom. And that bathroom was a mess the
Oh,
next day. He
oh yeah.
walked out and he goes, you're going to regret making me bring those dogs in.
Yeah.
He didn't clean up anything.
Yeah. How do these like dog haulers, these hound haulers who just go cross country
I don't know.
constantly?
Yeah.
That sounds like a nightmare job to me. Like it'd be interesting to talk to one of them. I mean, I'm sure they've got a ton of stories about stuff like that.
Yep. For sure. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm surprised you've even got enough words to talk, Ed. You've been on like every show except Joe Rogan the last week.
Yeah, it's too much. I had 4 days camping, so
Yeah.
kind of recharged.
Well, you were on. What were you on? Anecdote of a Houndsman last week with Chris
Yeah,
Watson and Brett, and was who's the other guy? Benny.
Benny. Yeah,
Benny. I like Benny. I like all those guys. You know, Brett. Brett does some cool stuff. He what he's doing with his YouTube channel is beyond the hounds.
yeah,
Because he's riding his mule. I'll call it a mule for you, Brett, so you don't get all butt hurt again. But yeah, it's a mule. I get it. I know the difference between a mule and a donkey. But anyway, he's not only drawing in hounds people, but anybody that's riding a mule, that likes riding a mule, that and they're out there connecting with Brett while he's doing all that stuff.
yeah. And he's got all those. He, uh, he got all the Deli tapes put up on YouTube, and he's done interviews with Warner Glenn and can't remember his first name, but his last name's Shelley. So he's kind of
Terrell,
tapped Terrell Shelley.
Terrell Shelley.
So he's kind of tapped into that kind of generation that came after Del Lee,
Yeah,
but was still old enough. A lot of them guys were old enough to know that previous generation like
right.
firsthand. And I mean, he's got his YouTube channel is a
Well, the
huge
cool thing
wealth of knowledge.
the cool thing about what Brett's doing is somebody that doesn't have any interest in hounds could tune in and watch his show just from the mule riding aspect, because we know there's tons of people out
Yeah,
there. I was talking to a guy today that Chrome Mule Sale in Tropic, Utah.
I'm not
They
familiar.
sold 24, 20. I don't remember. Maybe it might have been higher. It's not important how many mules they sold, but their average price, it was several, it was dozens, Their average sale price for a mule was $24,000.
Oh yeah, they have that. I've never gone. I want to go. I need to go before I'm gone. But they have the mule days out in California. Have you ever seen that?
They used to have one in Missouri.
They do too, but the one in California is where I mean, it's kind of it's the bigger one. They typically have, mule. I mean, everything goes higher out in California. I mean, they sell mules for 50, 60, 70, $80,000.
Yeah.
And they do like it's like a week. If I remember right, it's a week long event, but it's a big mule sale. And then they have a parade through town, and they do an all mule rodeo. You ever seen those all mule rodeos?
The what?
It's an
Oh, the
all,
all mule radio. Yeah.
yeah, they're pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's just so far out there. But I want to
That's a
go.
long way because you won't fly either. You got to drive it.
Yeah, so you're probably talking. I can't remember where it's at in California, but bare
Yeah.
minimum 20 hours.
Well, I'm not done with Brett yet. He keeps Brett and Chris keep trying to call us out, so I'm going to entertain them a little bit here.
Give a
So,
little bit tit for tat.
well, not necessarily, but the last show you were on, Brett called me a damn Yankee. You remember that?
Yeah, and that's kind of a
He's like he's up from Indiana, and he's just I can't even play guitar. That was like a big hair band back in the '80s,
yeah.
and I don't have any hair, and I can't play guitar, so I'm not a damn Yankee. But the funny thing is, he's from New Mexico, and New Mexico was a solid Union state during the Civil War.
Were they? Were they a state?
Oh yeah, Kit Carson led. He was a major for the Union Army attached to the First Colorado, the Battle of Valverde, where they defeated the Confederates.
Yeah.
Yep. But New Mexico had more volunteers for the Union than any other territory or state in the Western United States.
Well, I'm in Oklahoma, so we weren't even a state
No.
during the Civil War, but so I mean, we had Indian tribes that fought on both sides. Most Indian tribes sided with the Confederates because most Indian tribes, or I shouldn't say most, a lot of Indian tribes were slave owners as well. But technically, we weren't involved. And there's a lot of people that will debate me on it, but I consider Oklahoma part of the South. But so anytime somebody in the South, anybody outside the South is just automatically a Yankee.
Oh yeah.
I mean, even if you're from Oregon, I mean, if you're not from the South, you're a Yankee.
Well, I'm just saying, Brett was a Yankee too. He just doesn't know it.
Yeah. And there was, I mean, I don't even really know anything about like New Mexico's stance during the Civil War. It never even really occurred to me. But like in Kansas and Missouri, and I'm sure it happened in other places too, Oklahoma in part, you can't really lump the whole state into one category.
Very divided.
I mean,
that's the way Indiana was. Every place where I lived down that way, I mean, guys were going across the river and siding up with,
yeah,
the other, going across the Ohio River.
Yeah.
Kentucky was considered a border state, but where we live, right there on the Ohio River, the people that are from there can't decide whether they're from Ohio, Indiana, or Kentucky. They can't make up their mind.
Yeah.
And so we had plenty of people taking the ferry across and being like, nope, that's why they call it the brother against brother war.
Yeah, but it was lots of times it was by county, or even counties would be divided.
Yep, for sure.
Huge. I mean, that's a huge topic. I mean, I love that stuff.
I do too.
My family all lived in Illinois.
Really?
During the Civil War.
That was a solid Union state.
They left Illinois and came to Missouri, and then from Missouri here. But they were in Missouri during the Civil War.
Yep. T.L. Jones is on here. I know he's got a lot of thoughts about this, being from Greenville, Tennessee. He won't even call it the Civil War. What do you call it, T.L.? Put your comment up there.
The War of states' rights,
Northern aggression.
northern aggression,
Normally, I
states'
think what
rights.
I've seen him call it before.
Yeah.
But anyway,
That's really, I mean, we're getting into like some fringe history, but I mean, that's really historically that's correct. Like the Civil War was not about slavery. It became about slavery.
it's because it's a political movement. It got political traction in the North to support the war.
Yeah, I mean, it really was about states' rights, and I mean, obviously, slavery was a driving force in it, but that was on a subcategory. The larger category was states' rights, and this play between states' rights and federal rights. And where we're at today, I mean, we've totally slanted towards federal rights, above states' rights.
Oh yeah.
I mean, to a degree that I don't believe that the founding fathers wanted it to go to. It's all about money, you know. The federal government coerces states through federal funding. So, like for example, uh, I think it was in the late '70s to early mid '80s. Up until that point, there was a lot of states. So, like in Louisiana, you could get your driver's license at 14, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Oklahoma, I'm not sure what time period, but at one period we were like 15. So what I'm getting at is it didn't used to be this blanket 16. It was up to the states. So, but then the federal government came in. I believe it was early mid '80s, and they're like, if you want funding for your
That's
roads,
right.
then you're gonna enact a 16-year-old driver's license.
Same way with seatbelts.
Yeah, they do it. I mean, that's one example
Yep.
of the federal government using their money to dictate what should be left to the states, which the states constitutionally, I mean, Oklahoma tomorrow could pass a law and say 13-year-olds could drive, but they won't do it because they'll lose road funding.
Yep.
So they're
Looks
using
like they already have.
pretty bad, pretty bad. And I got a message from Cody Jenkins, and he's got a question. He said he wanted to know what you think about my driveway.
Hey, tell Cody he needs to log on
You're,
and be like part of the show.
you're,
No private texting here, Cody.
you're
No
not.
private texting. I'll tell you what, Ed's driveway is comparable to the roads in the Gila.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
That one slab you got down here,
Yeah.
that's in the dark, in the snow.
Yeah.
That could be tricky.
You got to be careful. If you're pulling a trailer, you got to be careful.
I would say so.
I don't get a whole lot of visitors.
Yeah, nobody's going to come and see you in a Corvette.
No, but you'd be surprised. Like it's been years ago, but one Saturday afternoon, I had a Cadillac car, not an SUV, a Cadillac car, a new one, pulls up here on a Saturday.
I was talking trash about Cody, but he sent me an encrypted message that said Ed driveway. I don't know what that. It's a good thing you texted Ed because I wouldn't have known what you were talking about, Cody.
But I had some what's the religious people that show up?
Mormons?
No.
Jehovah's Witness.
Jehovah's Witness. They showed up here in a Cadillac one day.
No kidding.
Yeah.
They wanted to see you bad.
I was like, you guys are devoted.
Had missionaries on the front step.
Yeah.
Drove their Cadillac in.
But I wouldn't trade that long driveway for anything. Like you saw the top of the road.
Yeah.
So when I first built this place, there was no neighbors on this side of the road. And then now they're just getting thick up there at the top. So
how many are there up there? 3 or 4?
3 or 4.
Thick.
Thick.
Oh my! You got to drive another 800 yards to get to your house. I don't know how you're doing it back here by yourself,
Yeah.
Ed.
Yeah, but it insulates me. So like when we bought this place, it would have been easier to build at the front of the property. But I built east to west, like pretty much smack in the middle, thinking that if stuff gets developed in the future, like neighbors can only get so close.
Yeah. Yeah. My place is laid out the same way. You got to go 3/10 of a mile off of the main road to get back to my place. If anybody pulls back in there, then they get greeted. It's like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Just so I know who's coming and going.
Well, I mean, like I knew about what time you're going to get here, but as soon as you pulled on the driveway, like I knew it. Like
Oh yeah,
my dogs tell
you
me,
had the
like,
alarm system
yeah,
going off.
yeah,
Yep. Well, getting back to, I I said we were going to play around with Chris and Brett and Benny a little bit, but I think it's important that we stick together.
oh yeah,
This community is too small to not stick together and support each other and support what each of us are trying to do. And um, it's just important.
I mean, there's room enough for everybody. I mean, uh, I would like to see more dog podcast. You know, we don't need to try to push out competition. I would honestly like to see more.
When we first started Houndsman XP, I can't remember. I know what it was. It was a podcast called Song of the Hounds, and I don't know where the guy went, but there was a podcast called Song of the Hounds, and when it popped up, I was like, "Crap, we got competition," and I had to check. I had to pump the brakes a little bit and think about that. The whole reason we started the Houndsman XP podcast was to get our voice back out there in the mainstream conversations about hunting. And then the first time somebody comes along and tries to add more voice to it, I was getting I was getting pissed off about it.
Yeah,
And I was like, wait a second, this isn't. So now it's like, okay, yeah, come on in, let's all do it.
yeah, and competition makes us better. You know,
Absolutely.
I mean that's a principle of capitalism, and we're not making money, but this is still capitalism. So I mean, if a podcast pops up, next week, and those guys are just killing it, you know, if they take it in a direction that nobody else has, and it's super successful, then the rest of us are going to look at that and not necessarily copy them, but like you know, advance it. You know, so yeah, like I said, I mean, there's room for
What drives me, because even though there's other stuff out there, it forces me to keep trying to do stuff new and innovative and different things like that with our podcast.
yeah, that's what
You
I
know,
mean. Yeah,
trying to move it ahead and trying to and if we all do that, I mean, the reason deer hunting is so popular is because when you turn on the Sportsman channel, there's 500 shows on there talking about deer hunting.
yeah,
You can find a reason to tune in and watch it, and they've made it such a big deal. We're about the same age. When I was a kid, man, Walls coveralls were like the number one. If you had a pair of Walls coveralls, you'd made it as a deer hunter,
oh yeah, yeah.
And now it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Which I don't really want to see dog hunting go that direction. Like to the
I want it to go that direction, just simply not with the money side of it, but we need to have more influence and more credibility.
yeah,
And the reason deer hunters have got so much credibility is because they generate, going back to the road deal and the government deal. The reason they've got so much influence is because they bring a lot of money to the table.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like I don't think that a lot of these wildlife departments and states realize how much money dog hunters contribute to the economy. It's not as plain to see as deer hunters. But when you start thinking about it, I mean, for the most part, deer hunters contribute to the economy during deer season. They might
Hmm.
in the off season they might buy a new rifle or something. We feed dogs all year round. You know, uh, we're buying, you know,
We're
umpteen
supporting local feed dealers. We're
gas
looking
stations,
gas stations.
beer companies.
Yeah, beer companies for
No, but
sure.
I mean, but you know what I mean. I mean, it's a year long.
Yeah.
That's kind of one of the things I've always kind of liked about dog hunting is that So like I could be a crazy avid deer hunter and I can take my rifle and set it in the closet and 10 months later it's going to shoot this, it should shoot exactly the same as it used to shoot.
You might not be able to, but it will.
Yeah. But like dog hunting it's not just a pull it out of the closet kind of sport. It's a, it's a lifelong, endeavor, even
Yeah,
in the
it's
off
an
season,
everyday investment.
I'm, like right now, like I'm not hardly hunting at all. Uh, but
It's 100 degrees.
I,
It's what, 8 o'clock at night, and it's 92.8 degrees outside.
yeah, it was 101.8, I think.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm not going out. We used to go out there then or now, but I'm not doing it. We go through stages. So right now, me and Tanner don't have. Tanner's got a couple younger dogs, but we'll hunt through the summer if we've got younger dogs that just have to, have it. I do think you make a dog in the summer.
you think you make one in the summer?
Yeah, you see what
Why?
you see what you're feeding in the summer. Because for hogs, it's tougher tracking conditions. So a dog that shines in the winter when the tracking is easier.
Because of more moisture in the ground and different stuff like that right now,
Yeah,
or in the winter.
in the winter, yeah.
Yeah.
So in drier conditions, it's tougher for them a lot of times. So I think you can judge a dog better in the summer. Plus, you get to see. It makes their heart come out. Uh, if a dog will stick on a track for 4 hours and 95 degrees, and then he's got some want to. So I do think that hunting in summer is important. Just I don't have the guts to get out there right now. A friend of ours that me and Tanner hunt with, he was just feeding dogs a few days ago, and he just threw on some sneakers to go feed and got bit by a copperhead in his yard. He's been in the hospital for a couple days.
No kidding, over a copperhead bite?
Oh yeah. Which we're loaded with copperheads, and
Yeah.
we don't see that many rattlesnakes anymore. We see them, but we probably see 10 copperheads to one rattlesnake. The summers are so miserable.
That's one thing about where I live, that southeast corner. All the years I worked, people would call and it's like they'd go to the hospital for a snake bite, anybody that got bit by a snake. And a lot of times they would take the snake with them.
Yeah.
They'd kill it.
Yeah.
They'd take it with them. And you get called up to the hospital to come and ID a snake for the medical staff. Not one time was it ever a poisonous snake.
Really?
Nobody has ever reported a poisonous snake in my south. Now, if you go west, just 50 miles, you got copperheads. If you go south 30 miles, you got copperheads. And we got timber rattlers over there in south central Indiana. Southwest has got some moccasins.
Yeah, because I don't think they're real. I don't think they're real keen on giving you anti venom unless you know. You got to be 100% sure.
Yeah, you got to know for sure.
Which I haven't had a chance to ask our buddy if he took the snake, or he's just a country boy. They might have taken his word that it was a copperhead. I don't know.
So, what do you do for a snake bite? Since you're living in snake country, this post came up. I saw it on Facebook the other day. People asking for advice, just kind of everybody's opinion on what they do for snake bites.
For a dog or for a human?
For a dog.
For a dog, I got yard dogs out here that are 10 or 12 years old and they've been bit, like that little black dog.
Mm-hmm.
She's probably been copperhead bit 20 times.
Slow learner.
She's not real bright. She hates them. She hates them. But
that's because every time she walks by one bites her.
So generally, a copperhead won't kill a dog. Sometimes a rattlesnake will. Sometimes it won't. But what does kill dogs more often? So like if you got a dog on a chain, you're going to put his collar fairly tight. If he gets bit on the chain with a fairly tight collar, usually the swelling with that collar will kill him. So if they're on a chain spot, if you're able to do it, take the collar off, get them in a kennel, bring them in the house. Uh, Benadryl, just regular Benadryl tablets like you would take for allergies. A dog's tolerance to Benadryl is is way more than a human's. And if my memory serves me, on a dog you do 1 milligram per pound of body weight, which sounds crazy, you know.
Yeah.
So like a 40-pound dog, you give them 40 milligrams of Benadryl. That just is going to knock back swelling a little bit because that's basically the main problem with it is because they always get bit on the head
Right.
because they're messing with it.
Yep.
So it's swelling, it's choking by the collar, or it's a closing of their esophagus. So you bring down swelling with Benadryl. If you've got dexamethasone, uh, a couple cc's shot intermuscular each day. And that's pretty much all I do. I mean, when these yard dogs get bit, I don't do anything.
Yeah.
And then none of them have ever died.
Just put on the banner down below if you're not paying attention. If you're just listening, what's your method for snake? What's your remedy for snake bites? I think this will be interesting if we get some feedback on this. So, I never understood the whole swelling thing and a dog choking out because the tissue's swelling, right? But is the esophagus swollen too?
I
Have you
mean,
ever had a dog that you tied out that got snake bit that you didn't know and then went out the next day and it was dead because everything was swollen up?
I haven't, but I've had friends that it happened to.
But th- do the internal organs swell too, or how's that work?
I would.
I'd think that,
I'm no.
you know,
Yeah, I'm no vet, but I would imagine they do.
everything swells.
I would imagine. Like I say, I mean, I'm not a vet.
I don't deal with snake bites, so I'm totally ignorant in the whole situation.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that. Well, I mean, I think what it is that the muscles around the neck are going to swell. So,
Oh,
so then if
and
you
then they can't go out, so they're
so they
constricting
go in.
in.
So if you got a tight collar on, the esophagus might not be swelling, but you're not letting it to go out, like you say. So
So
then
it's
it
it's
collapses.
imploding
Yeah,
on the airway.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
that's my novice understanding of it.
I'll bet you that's it. That's
Yeah.
got to be it.
So pretty much you're just dealing with controlling swelling. Is Benadryl and dexamethasone are both just anti-inflammatories.
I was having this conversation with another guy today. Dex. Sometimes what I see the comments, I think a lot of dog men put the meth in dexamethasone.
Maybe.
Because does anybody really know what dexamethasone is? Do you know what it is?
I mean, it's an anti-inflammatory.
Mm-hmm.
That's about all I know.
It's a steroid,
Yeah.
but it's like, snake bite. Give it Dex. Well, do we really know what we're giving our dog at that point?
I mean, I've taken it.
Have you?
Oh yeah. Hey,
How? How have you taken it? For what?
I've taken it a few times when I was just like kind of down, like under the weather, kind of been sick for a little while and just can't seem to get over it.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel good.
Do you shoot yourself up with it?
Yeah. Yeah, it makes you feel good. You can take it orally or you can do it
What does it do?
intramuscular.
What did it do to you? What symptoms did you have, and then why did you take it?
Well, I can't exactly remember. Like I say, I mean, I just kind of had something going on where I was a little bit sick, not like totally dying, but just kind of sick and couldn't seem to get over it. Uh, I think the last time I took it was during like I had COVID, so COVID hit me pretty bad. I kind of got over it, but then like the next couple weeks, I just wasn't back to myself.
Right.
So I did a CC a Dex for 3 days. You don't want to do it, even I mean in a dog or a person. I'm not telling people to use Dex on yourself, but you don't do it over 3 days. So I just do a cc a day for 3 days, and I don't know. That's kind of like a steroid. Like you've taken
What
those.
did it do to you?
Well, like you've taken those steroid packs.
Yeah.
Similar to that. Like uh, up my appetite, where I just like ate like crazy, and then towards the end of it, like I felt like I was 18. Like I wanted to fight everybody and screw everything. I should tell people like there are long term detrimental effects
Yeah.
to taking Dex. Like you shouldn't you should just do it, if you feel like it. You should just do it sparingly. Don't do it too
You put
much.
the meth in Dexam.
No, I just do it for 3 days. It's tough on your liver and kidneys.
Yeah.
That's why you do it 3 days only. Pretty much, and also there's been actual veterinary studies that uh, after 3 days the positive effects were pretty much gone.
Okay.
So like going longer than 3 days you really didn't get anything. You're just getting the harmful side
Right.
after 3 days, and you're really not getting the benefit.
Yeah, it's definitely a powerful anti-inflammatory. The way the conversation came up was, you know, you can use Dex like if you're running bear dogs every day, and I'll tell you where it came up. It was a coyote hunter,
Yeah.
and it's like when you go to a trial and you're running hard for 3 or 4 days, give them a shot of Dex. It's an anti-inflammatory, and they were trying to say that it helps them recover. But my question is okay, are you doing anything beneficial to recover, or are you just reducing the inflammation and masking the symptoms? And I wonder, are you just, it's like when a professional athlete blows out an ACL and the trainer just gives them a cortisone shot, say get back up there and play.
Yeah,
There's long-term effects. You're not fixing anything. You're just masking
you're
the
masking it.
symptoms.
But one thing that Dex will do uh, in a situation like you're talking about, so, and I don't know the science behind how it does it, but a Dex will help a dog put air into their lungs and then put that air from their lungs into their blood at a higher level, which is, that's stamina. I mean, our muscles have to have that oxygen,
Oxygen.
and that for some, I don't, like I say, I don't know the science behind it, but Dex
Does it then it must affect the red blood cell count because red blood cells
carry it.
carry oxygen and hydration to the muscle.
Yeah.
So it's got to have some effect on the oxygen, or it has to have some effect on the red blood cell.
Yeah.
Must thin Has to thin the wall, maybe.
Shoot, I don't know.
I don't know. We got to find a vet to talk to about this.
I don't know.
We're just like we say, it's totally opinionated, and sometimes it's substantiated. So
And it's not professional. It's not professional veterinarian advice.
or
Use at your
primary
own
care
dis-
physicians type
Yeah.
stuff. Giving yourself Dex.
But I mean, anymore, Dex is hard to get.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, used to, I could get it at any time. Now, like I get those bottles of it, and I kind of got to kick and scratch to get them, and then I kind of hold them back, and
Yeah.
I don't share them like I used to.
Right.
All that stuff's getting harder to get.
Yeah. I don't. Where we at on the over the counter penicillin, because that's been kicked around ever since COVID that they were going to regulate penicillin.
I think they did.
Did they?
I
You
think
can't
they
get
did.
fish pen, and
I think you can still get fish. I don't know.
but you can't go to the co-op and buy
A bottle of penicillin.
Pen G.
I really don't know. I don't really like penicillin that much.
Why not?
Uh, it doesn't work like it used to. All antibiotics kind of do that. Like the environment builds up a resistance to it, and it just seemed like, for the last 10 years, it just seemed like penicillin didn't work like it used to.
The antibodies evolve
Yeah.
in the environment. It's just like Roundup and weeds. Now they're talking about Roundup resistant weeds is a big problem in agriculture and antibiotics and And bacteria is the same way. It's gonna evolve and develop a resistance to it.
Yeah, I mean that's where like staph infections come from. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's because on the human side of it, like you go to a doctor for almost anything, they prescribe you an antibiotic. And in the big picture of things, that's bad because we're giving those organisms a chance to build resistance
Yeah.
and change into another form that our antibiotics don't touch. That's kind of where staph came from in my novice understanding of it.
Well, and we did a podcast with the guys from Elite Nutrition. Leanne is the main person up there that works on all their different elixirs and different things. It's all natural. And so I was talking to her, and this is going back to the human side. Like my son Jake has really low thyroid. I mean, super low. And I was talking to her about their thyroid medication. And she said, what our stuff does is we work with your doctor, but we allow you, we introduce a natural substance that causes your thyroid to start working again. You trick the body into thinking that it's got it, and then whereas the thyroid medication, it just replaces
Replaces it, yeah.
the missing chemical and your body never heals itself.
Yeah.
Whereas their treatment is introduce a natural thing and your body develops the ability to combat that. And they've got people that have gone off their thyroid medication, hundreds of people that have gone off their thyroid medication just by using the product. And she laid it out the same way for me on the podcast about antibiotics, like their rebalance BB. They're just using what God gave you to and your dog to get their system back up to the point where it's like, I've been designed to fight this infection on my own. So they're more resistant to infection at that point. It's not antibiotics, you put them in there and it kills it, and then your body's still depleted at that point. Whereas their product takes it, attacks the infection, and then trains the body to combat it naturally.
Yeah. I just use raw onion and raw garlic in place of
What is it?
raw onion and raw garlic in place of antibiotics.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, so like if when I was a kid, if you started sniffling in the wintertime and mom or grandma thought there was a cold coming on, you had to eat half of raw onion and a few cloves of raw garlic, and it jumpstarts your. I'm not sure what it is, but those two like jumpstart your immune system. Which they say garlic is uh, poisonous to dogs, but I used to do that with dogs, like dogs that had infection.
Mm-hmm.
I would just take a clove of garlic, smash it, put it in their food, and make sure they got it down their gullet. I never had a dog die from it.
Hmm.
I don't know if it worked or didn't work, but it works in humans.
How much of it you think is like placebo type stuff? Grandpa told you it work and you don't do anything else, so you keep smashing up garlic and you throw it on their feed, and eventually the dog gets over it, and you think, "Oh, garlic worked."
Well, it's probably kind of like a stereotype. Like it comes from somewhere. Like, no, I think it works. I mean, whether it works through the placebo effect or works through an actual medical sense or whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter to me as long as it
It
works.
doesn't matter to you.
But I think
Yeah.
there's something to it, like really to it. Like cultures that just naturally eat a lot of garlic don't tend to get as sick as often. Just like cultures that eat a lot of, and there's kind of like some new studies out about cultures that eat a lot of really hot peppers, just like constantly, it's like a big part of their diet.
Yeah.
And uh, they have like crazy low instances of cancer. And there's some scientists out now that are trying to study, the possible effects of anti-cancer effects of like hot peppers. Diet is a huge part of health, obviously. You know, we all kind of assume that when it comes to like being fat or whatever, but then when you talk about it like in a medicinal side, a lot of people like shut off. To me, that makes no sense. I mean, I'm gonna grab a beer. You want one, Chris?
No, I'm good. I've just made a banner across the bottom. I'm asking anybody else. Is anyone else having a problem hearing that, or is it just me?
Are you having a problem?
Well, I'm deaf as a post, so
I'm pretty deaf too. Yeah, nobody else's grandma made them eat garlic.
we eat a lot of garlic.
Like when you're getting sick, I mean, grandma will make you just stomach it, just wolf down like multiple cloves of it.
Well, it's stuff like, hey, Stephen Kitka wants to know this, and Throwback says you're loud and clear. So it is just me.
Yeah, it's probably from the Marine Corps.
Yeah, 100%. I've got tinnitus so bad. It's like when I went into the VA, and I've got a hearing aids I wear that are issued by the VA. They would ask all these questions about, well, what were you around that would have caused your hearing? I was in before the foam earplug class action lawsuit.
Yeah,
They didn't give us earplugs. You kidding me?
yeah. I mean, I never wore earplugs shooting,
Yeah.
but it's kind of like a generational thing. Like this generation is so. I'm not, I get it. Like you should probably take care of your shit, but sometimes they just take safety
Well, it's like
too far.
it all started with bicycle helmets
Yeah,
for kids. I was riding around with an officer one time. He's like, I think it ought to be a law that you wear a bicycle helmet. It's like my kids aren't wearing bicycle helmets. I rode bikes without a helmet, and now the end thing is like if any kid is on a horse, they're wearing a helmet. And I know there's been situations where a kid got bucked off and now they're living on in a wheelchair and they're paraplegic and steering themselves out around with their chin. And I get that, but people have been randomly struck by lightning too,
yeah,
and you don't stop going outside.
yeah. Well, a lot of people have.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, Blackbeard wants to know if you're still working on the Lily book.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you?
Yeah, I mean, I write on it all the time. I mean,
Did
it's
you?
probably going to be I mean, I would say conservatively 2 or 3 years before it's done.
Did you just stop posting on
Yeah,
about it on
yeah. I mean,
social media?
I would just put up certain pieces of it that I thought were interesting. But yeah, I mean, I do it probably 2 times a week.
No kidding.
I mean, right now it's probably I mean, I haven't counted, but I would imagine it's probably 600 pages so far.
So far, it is
Yeah, so
600
I mean,
pages.
I'm gonna have a solid year of trying to cut it down to a chewable size
Wow.
book. It's so fun to write. Like, I mean, even if I
So
never,
how do you do it? You just like start writing and just take pieces of facts that you know and then expand on them.
I mean, so basically what I did was I put together like a known timeline of Lily's life. So I have a big timeline of like factual information, like where he was and kind of what he was doing or tidbits like that through his whole life. And obviously we don't have the details. I mean, it's like uh, historical fiction is what you would call it. So
Yeah.
I just, I fill in the gaps with, I try to keep it to what I think would, you know, have, would fit, but obviously I'm just making it up. But it's like huge fun for me. Like, even if I never published it, it wouldn't even matter. It's just, to me, it's really fun to do because I like to write. I've always liked to write, and usually I have a hard time finding something to write about.
Yeah.
So this is like something that's always there. So like I have to be in the right mood to write. Like I can't just like say I'm gonna write at 6 a.m. I can't do that. I just kind of have to. It has to hit me, and I have to be in the right mood. So when it hits me and I'm in the right mood, I automatically have a subject to go to. So it's fun.
I do like when I write articles and stuff. I have to write in the morning. That's my time. I if I get up early and start writing, I can write.
See, I'm not a morning person, so for me, it's night. Like I probably write the best between like 10 p.m. and 2 a.m.
No kidding.
That's where my mind is, the best. I think I'm not a morning person though.
Yeah.
There's no way I could get up at 6 in the morning and start writing.
Oh, I get up in the morning, brains kicked in, and I just start writing. Like I just wrote an article for Southern Hound Hunter magazine, and I know that, and that's kind of a quiet time. Everybody, it's only me and my wife there here now, but I used to get up earlier, and that time in the morning, my grandma was like that. She would get up before anybody else. She'd work on a crossword puzzle. She would already have breakfast fixed when everybody got down. The coffee was already made, and it was kind of neat going to their house because you knew grandma. It almost became a game where it's like, I'm gonna try to wake up before grandma, and I never
Yeah,
could. And and of course, my early when I was 10 years old was like 6:30 or 7.
yeah.
She'd already been up for an hour and a half.
Usually, what I do is like, so I'll kind of pretty early in the morning, I'll kind of know like, oh, I'm gonna feel like writing tonight. So then while I'm at work, I'll be thinking about it. So I kind of have it already. Usually, when I sit down at a keyboard, I kind of have it's mostly all written in my head, and at that point, it's just getting it from my head onto a keyboard.
Yeah,
But it's fun. I think that's what I think we talked about it on Chris Watson's podcast. But that's kind of what I've always been a huge fan of Ben Lilly. But then I would read these books and these articles, and it just always left me like kind of, like, I mean, he's a famous dog hunter, but they never talked about the dogs, and
yeah,
that's what I was interested in. So I try to write more about the dogs, which, like I say, I'm just kind of making it up. I think I'm kind of online, but
right. Yeah, the whole writing thing. Some people are gifted to do it, and some people aren't, and it's not for everybody. But like when Kevin Hall was writing the book, The Long Walker, he would write a chapter and he'd post it on Facebook, and people loved it. They were just eating it up, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one, but I sent him a message like, dude, stop giving, put this in a book. You got to put
you're
this in
giving
a
it all
book.
away.
You're
Yeah.
giving it this way. And then he put it in a book form and wrote The Long Walker. And that's a cool book.
I mean, we deal with it with Tusker's magazine all the time. Like people will get a hold of me and they're like, "Oh man, I got a good story," or they'll send me some pictures. I'm like, "Those good pictures, write a story." Oh man, I'm not a writer, and I'm like, "Dude, just write it exactly how you would tell it to your buddy." You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm sure you've told this story about this crazy hunt
Right.
to some people, like, where we're at, like that's what we want. We just want that everyday language, simple, but just write it exactly how you would tell it to your buddy. And over the years I've had some people that I knew had a really good story, and they just had this block and they just couldn't write it. And I'm like, get your phone out, press record, and tell it into the phone, and
Yeah.
then send me that file, and I'll transcribe that into text. Because
You've
that's
done
all.
that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's all we want. I mean, people have this idea that writing has to be this like elevated, language and
Well, I think that comes from a culture. It's like, oh, he wrote a book. He's a published author.
yeah.
You know?
But yeah, I mean, you can just, it doesn't have to be like that. Like, Mark Twain. I mean, that was simple language. I mean, you know, simple language. Everyday guy could read it. In a lot of ways, that's harder than writing at this like uh, quote educated level. Like I've read some books that were, from some intellectual on some topic, and I think I'm fairly smart, and like I couldn't follow it,
Yeah.
and you got to write, you got to write for your audience. If I'm writing a hog hunting story, I'm not going to use words that people have to go to a dictionary.
Sure.
So it's all about. Sometimes writing at that lower level is harder than writing at that.
Yeah. I can imagine how many people would read a story that says, as we were traveling down the thoroughfare, the odoriferous,
Yeah,
the odoriferous scent filled my dog's olfactory senses, and he sounded off with a
yeah,
vocalization.
yeah. That
You
doesn't
know,
fit.
it doesn't fit.
Doesn't fit.
Yeah,
And that's kind of what we've always done with the magazine is try to keep it down to earth because we're all down to earth dudes. Like we don't have to play this game of trying to be something that we're not.
right.
There's nothing wrong with just writing a simple hog hunting story that is told in simple language that everybody understands. I mean, you don't have to pretend and try to get it to this level just because you.
Well, most of the time when people do attempt to do that, it's butchered, and it appears like it appears that way.
Yeah.
Like when Jordan Peterson talks.
Yeah.
You're familiar with Jordan Peterson?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that guy's got a vocabulary that's like this. It's endless, but he brings it down to a level where everybody can understand it, and that's a valuable trait to have.
And it's hard to do. I
Mhm.
mean, it's not hard for me or you to do, but for somebody at his education level, that's not easy for a lot of those guys to
Right.
do.
Well, it's like talking to Seth Hall.
Yeah.
Walking through the mountains of the Gila, and he's talking about the scientific name of the blue agave plant or whatever it was,
Yeah.
or the yucca plant.
He's throwing out Latin names.
Latin names, and I'm just like, all I need. What plant is that? Oh, that's the blah 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 blah. Most people call it blue agave. I was like, okay, that's good. He goes, well, now you know the scientific name. I was like, I don't need to know the scientific name. I'm not writing a scientific paper on it, you know. But he is like a walking encyclopedia. I think Seth's got a photographic memory personally.
It seems that way.
Yeah, yeah. He remembers all those names, and the thing is, I've never been anywhere with that guy where he didn't leave with like 20 new Facebook friends.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, he can. When we went to the terrier trials, he had people just sitting down with him and talking to him, and even though he's got, I mean, he's got this big brain on him, but he just wants to have fun.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. Now, sometimes I got to get him off the. There have been times where it's like, hey, dude, just we got to cool it down. I can't understand anything you're saying, so I can't stay in the conversation with you.
Yeah.
It's really more for my benefit.
Yeah. I mean, it just goes back to like knowing your audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which there's a time and a place. If Seth is talking to some,
Well, he's sitting in high level meetings with other biologists all the
yeah.
time.
I mean, if you're in that environment, then that kind of language, those people understand that kind of
Yeah.
language. But if you're just sitting down with some dudes drinking beer that are hicks,
Yeah,
they're
and
not.
he
They don't understand what you're saying.
he can make the transition real good, really well most of the time.
Yeah.
If you catch him fresh off of quitting time, then it's like, whoa, let's pump the brakes. You're talking about jackrabbit, not a, some type of lupus,
Yeah.
leptus, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we was in New Mexico, and uh Seth first got there, and he was pretty wound up, and he was throwing off all those Latin names, and I mean I don't know Latin at all, but yeah, I mean I knew what he was. I understood him. I didn't understand exactly what he was saying, but I understood him, the man.
Yeah.
And then after like a few minutes, like Cody Jenkins was sitting next to me, and he goes, "What is this guy talking about?" Like I was like, "He's talking Latin names
He took
for."
a shot of dexamethasone before he got there.
Yeah, maybe.
He's come up. He's come to the highway before he turned. As soon as he turned in the road, he's like shot himself up with Dex.
Could be.
Oh,
He's pretty high energy.
what's that?
Seth is pretty high energy.
Yeah, he is a lot of high energy until he's not.
They say people like mimic their dogs.
Yeah, yeah, he's good in short spurts.
Yeah.
He really is. Yeah, we were hog hunting down in Texas, and we're hunting with Rigo Garcia, and it got dark, and Seth is not a night person at all. You know, he gets up early in the morning, and he was just done. He was back there, and he was totally quiet in the back of that truck.
That's hard to believe.
Oh, it was incredible. It was incredible. I was like, "You awake back there?" He's like, "Man, I'm just spent. I'm just spent." But so the old adage is like, here's a little piece for everybody: communication, marriage advice for you coming up here. So women speak about 25 on average, speak around 25,000 words a day. Men speak between 10 and 12,000 words a day. So when we go to work, we're communicating with people all day long. We're doing all this stuff, and then when we get home, that's why women are like, "You never talk to me." She's just getting warmed up when you get home from work,
Yeah.
or when she gets home from work. She can go to work all day, talk to people all day. She just got through half her day,
Yeah.
and Seth expended all his words. We were at the Terrier trials, and he was done. He'd been talking to people all day at the Terrier trials, and when it got dark, he was just like, "I'm done."
Yeah.
Yep,
I can usually do it, but for a couple days after, I just want
you got to recover.
to not speak.
I'm the same way. My wife doesn't understand how I can drive cross country by myself and not talk to anybody. Me and Tough riding in the truck together. I'm good.
Yeah, like I'll come. I have to talk a fair amount at work, not a crazy amount, but a fair amount. But then on the weekends, it's just me here.
You don't talk to anybody.
Sometimes I might not.
You're getting charged up for the week.
Yeah. And sometimes I'll, it'd be like a long weekend or something.
You got 24,000 words in reserve, and I bet you don't use. I bet you keep banking them. You don't use them that week.
I probably don't. But sometimes I'll like go to speak, like probably to like a dog or,
Yeah.
and like it'll come out like it won't work at first. Like I have to cough and like kind of get some practice, like talking again. And then I'll think, Jesus, like I'll realize, like, man, I haven't spoken a external word in 3 days.
3 days. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny because when I got down to like the first time I met Dustin Machado, he was expecting me to just be this chatterbox because the only thing he knows me from is like the podcast.
Yeah.
And you give me a podcast, and that pretty much takes the whole day up for me, you know. And then when I got down there, I was pretty quiet. I was just, yeah, yep. He didn't know what to think.
I mean, I was kind of brought up uh, that strong men didn't speak a lot. So like you just kind of, it was unmanly to speak a bunch. So like I say, I was kind of brought up that way. And like don't leave them guessing, like don't tell them what you're thinking. So
It's like the old Abraham Lincoln, you know, the old saying from him. What is it? Better to be thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt.
yeah, Was it Lincoln who said that?
Yeah, I think so.
So like I was married, and like I don't talk much around the house, and my wife went with me to my ex-wife went with me to a hog bay one time.
Oh yeah, I know where this is going.
And like on the ride home, she was like, "Oh my God." She
Who
was like,
are you?
"Yeah, who are you? Like, you talk to everybody." And like, she's like, "What in the world?" And I'm like, "Well, like I was around my people. Like I know, I enjoy those conversations,
Yeah.
but it totally, and we've been together for 15 years probably. And it like totally blew her mind.
Yep.
But yeah, like I say, it was kind of, maybe it's like John Wayne kind of era throwback, but it was like, guys are supposed to be kind of silent,
Right.
don't throw your business out there and let people just guess at what you're thinking.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the crowd's pretty quiet tonight. I don't know what's going on. You guys, we're looking for your questions. Make sure you're throwing them out there, and whatever you want to talk about. And it's Ed and I just get together and we have these same conversations on the phone. Just
Well, I mean, and kind of what, I mean, Raw Dog may not have totally started off this way, but it's kind of gone this way. Like, we don't just sit down and 100% talk about dogs, you
yeah,
know. Uh,
talk about the people.
yeah, I'm just kind of talk about the culture or whatever. But, this is only the second week for us to do this format live, but this is how we're going to do it from here on out,
Hmm.
when at all possible.
I think
But
people were thinking we were going to get on here and start throwing people under the bus, and
yeah, but what I was getting at is, so like, people can ask dog questions. I mean, just because we're not sitting here talking about dogs,
yeah,
doesn't mean you can't ask a dog question.
help us out. Mark Twain, Chris Watson says Mark Twain said that.
I think he might be right. That sounds like more of a Twain quote than a Lincoln quote.
I'm gonna look it up right now. Uh,
Watson Powell is gonna Google you, but I think I'm gonna fall in with Watson on that one. That's where my $5 is at.
Better to be thought a fool and remain silent than to speak and remove all doubt.
Doesn't that sound more Twain?
We're gonna find. We got the Googler working.
Twain has like 10,000 one-liners like that.
Well, that's they're called anecdotes,
Yeah.
and that's what's cool about Chris's podcast is he named it there. Let's see. Ah, hmm. I don't think that's right.
What?
He's trying to give credit to somebody in 1907. Some lady named Mrs. Goose, a work called Mrs. Goose. Mrs. Goose, her book wrote, "It's better to remain silent and risk being thought a fool than to talk and remove all doubt about it." And that they're trying to say that was in 1987.
87?
Yeah, 1907. I'm sorry,
Okay.
1907.
So you might both be wrong.
Abraham Lincoln is I haven't seen Twain's name yet. I'm going to quote investigator.
There's a lot of quotes out there that are attributed to people that did not say them.
Abraham Lincoln says, question for here are two versions of an entertaining saying that is usually credited to Abraham Lincoln or Mark Twain. And we know what those are.
So we don't really know.
There's a biblical proverb. I'm gonna sneeze here. There's two versions here. Even a fool is thought wise if he keeps silent, and discerning if he holds his tongue. That's Proverbs 17:28. And then the King James version is, even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, is counted wise, and he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding. So
Okay,
I
so
think it's one of those quotes that has been taken, just passed down from
yeah.
generation, and everybody put their own spin on it. Because one of the things that Twain is, his moderation of that, it's better to keep your mouth shut and appear stupid than to open it and remove all doubt. Where Lincoln said, better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt.
But they were both getting it from the Bible.
Yeah. Yep. So
I think my favorite Twain quote is the tales of my death had been greatly exaggerated.
that sounds like you. It sounds like you. All right, let's get back to see what the other comments are.
We was at Earl's I think it was 2 years ago, and these two kids are
Samuel Clemens. Chris Watson's trying to show his big brain.
Samuel Clemens.
Yeah, he's trying to throw us off with Samuel Clemens now.
That's Mark Twain.
Exactly.
Well, we was at Earl's a couple years ago, and these two kids, there's probably about 19. These two boys come up and they bought a hat or something, and they left. They started walking off, and they got about 50 yards down the alleyway. Then they turned around and they came back, and one of them said, "Are you Ed?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Oh man." Uh, they shook my hand. They're like, "Man, we didn't ever think we'd get a chance to meet you. We thought you were dead." Why would you think I was dead?
Throwback Kennels has a question for us, Ed. You're the guy to answer this. Says, do you know anybody that uses actual grain bed pits for catch dogs, or would you say most people are just using general run of the mill pit bull type dogs as catch dogs?
Yeah, what was that again?
Do you all know anyone who uses actual great game bred APBTs, American Pit Bull Terriers,
Yeah.
for catch dogs?
Oh yeah.
Or would you say most people are just using general run of the mill pit bull type dogs as catch dogs?
Well, yeah. I mean, for sure, people are using real game bred dogs. I mean, I've had a few. The kind of conundrum there. I mean, in America, most of the pit bulls that are around come from game dogs.
Yeah.
And that's what created the breed. So they're all going to go back.
Well, just describe game dog in case somebody's tuning in.
Fighting dogs. It's illegal in all 50 states.
Right.
It still goes on. So really, what he's asking is how close those dogs are to that actual sport. So yeah, I mean, yeah, there's plenty of people that still use.
Do you think what's the hang up? Because it seems to be their divided camp between game bred and dogs that just have pit bull in them somewhere. It seems like there's a divide there.
Oh yeah.
Where's that come from?
Well, I mean, it just comes from like the political correctness. Obviously, it's not politically correct to fight dogs,
Right.
but anybody who has an American pit bull, I at least think that, I mean, you have to realize that breed came out of that sport. That sport created these dogs.
So they weren't stock dogs that were developed into
Well, yeah, I mean,
a game dog, or where did it change? Where,
yeah, I mean,
because
yeah.
a bull terrier was bred for a purpose of catching and holding.
Yeah, I'm not an expert on that, but yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, they get that name from somewhere. So, at some point those dogs, pretty much in America, so like American Pit Bull
The pit came in.
is pretty much a fighting dog.
Yeah.
You know, their ancestors came from more of a, you know, catching wild cow side of it. Uh, but yeah, I mean the good ones. I mean I've had game like real game bred dogs, and I've had buddies that, of course, had them. And the good ones are so smart. Uh, I've had friends who fought dogs, and they would use the same dog that they fought to catch pigs with, and the dog just knew. Like when we go in a dog box and we go to the woods, we're not here to fight. We're here to catch
Hmm.
pigs, and no dog aggression while hunting at all. You
Was
know,
there any worry on your part about the fact that there could be?
in the beginning there was,
Yeah.
you know, well, I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna say it because he's not alive anymore. But Colby had a dog named Mongo. The
I had a blue tick named Mongo.
this dog was top three catch dogs I've ever seen in my life, and he was a good fighting dog. You know, and if you were hog hunting, there was no worry about him grabbing another dog, biting you. Like that dog knew what he was doing. Just
Yeah.
like, just like hear typically these old timers talk about, they could take this walker out during the day and
Tree
tree
squirrels.
squirrels, take him out at night, tree coons, take him out with, you know, other dogs during the day and go hog hunting. And the dog just kind of knew what his task was.
Yeah.
This dog knew what his task was. And, and he didn't just fight because he was abused and just like mean. He fought because he knew you know, there was a time to fight and he was good at it.
Yeah.
Colby took him down to Louisiana. They still fight quite a bit in Louisiana. And Colby took him down there one time. And the dogfighting world it's a it's a weird scene. And there's a lot of drama in it, you know.
I imagine.
There's a lot of game they play a lot of games.
Hmm.
So if you got a really good dog, you can't hardly get nobody will go into you, you know. So lots of times what they'll do is so if I'm a famous dog fighter, nobody will come into me. So I'll find somebody else to set up a fight and they'll fight my dogs with somebody they don't know.
Hmm.
So Colby goes down to Louisiana and takes that Mongo dog and just like flat whoops some dogs. And they don't know this, they don't know Colby from Adam. And he had the whole Louisiana dogfighting scene like in a dust storm for 2 years because they were all trying to figure out
Whose dog really was that?
whose dog really was
Yeah.
this.
Whose dog is that?
It's a
Somebody's.
touchy subject. Like I
Yeah.
say, dogfighting made those dogs what they are. So we have to, even if we don't. I'm not a dog fighter. I've never watched a dog fight.
I haven't either.
I don't have any. I don't have any desire to watch a dog fight.
Do you watch UFC?
Not typically. I like
Boxing?
I like boxing, but I
Yeah.
don't like UFC. But if you like to fight dogs, have at it. That's your dog. Do what you want to do with it. I don't want to try to stop you from doing it, but it's not my thing.
Right.
But I think we have to acknowledge, even if we're against it, I think we should acknowledge uh, this like straight up dog knowledge that those guys put at our fingertips. Like those guys know, dog fighters know breeding better than any hunting dog people, hands down. I mean,
I've said the same thing about chicken fighters and pigeon breeders. Pigeon breeders can and this we're totally derailing the topic. We'll get back to it, but just quick anecdote. They can take and breed 3 generations of pigeons and know what they're what those pigeons are capable of, it would take us 10 years or
Yeah,
5 years with dogs.
and all those genetics go back. So like there are, if a guy can breed pigeons really well, he can breed dogs really well.
Mm-hmm.
He can breed horses really well.
Yeah.
He can breed cows really well. It all spans understanding breeding genetics. You're not locked into one species. It all translates.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, kind of back to the general question, like, yeah, game dogs can sure enough make good catch dogs. You have to have the right ones and and understand what the right one is. Like I've hunted with plenty. I've hunted with plenty that were sure enough game bred, and you had like you had to watch out. Like especially after you caught a pig, they would jump on another dog or jump on a person. Uh,
The thing that I think is underrated or overlooked is a dog's ability, the way we set a dog up for certain situations. When I was a canine handler, you could have a dog that could do multiple things. And we did, if I was going to do an area search, we'd use a snap collar with a plastic snap on it, and we'd set them. It was consistency every time. Every time that dog was going to do an area search, I'd bring that dog out, set it between my legs, and I'd give that audible snap, hold on to its collar, pat it on the chest, and give it the command to go search. And she could cover a 20-acre field and come up with a shotgun shell. I've seen other canines that were Malinois that were bite dogs, and it's all about the way the handler, the consistency of the handler setting that dog up for the scenario it's in. So with the snap collar, it was called gear association. When she was tracking, then she put the tracking harness on, so she knew what her job was.
Yeah.
When it was a vehicle search, then it was we didn't change collars at all. I just took it off the live ring on the choke collar and put it in the dead ring on the choke collar, and she knew what we were doing. And catch dogs can be the same way. Any breed of dog can be the same way.
yeah, it's just from repetition.
Yep, consistency and repetitions. It's like Tough Nose. When I was loading up, usually when I let him out in the morning, he goes and just runs wild for a little bit. I put him out every day with the collar on him, and I can track him or I can recall him. This morning when we went out last night, he was out there with me all night, and we are loading the truck and we are doing all this stuff. And then this morning when he went out, I was loading hounds and we did all this stuff. And I went back in the house and I hadn't put him in the truck yet. He's sitting by the door on the truck. He's sitting there looking at me, waiting to get in the truck.
Yeah, he saw you load them other dogs.
He knows. It's like, you're not leaving here without me. I know what my job is right now is to ride in that truck.
Yeah.
The next 2 days, if that's what it takes.
I mean, I used to hunt with a guy a few years back, and he had a sure enough, like when you talk game dogs, there's like hot dogs, which are really close. Like generationally, they're really close to dogs that fight. And then there's
Cody Fritz. You remember Blazing Saddles?
yeah.
Remember this? Get Mongo, he'll kill me. Remember that?
I don't remember that part.
Yeah, I thought that was a quote from Blazing Saddles. But that's where I got the name Mongo for that blue tick.
It's from Blazing Saddles.
From Blazing Saddles.
I don't remember that name in that movie, but I'm terrible.
Oh yeah,
about
Mongo was the one that punched out the horse.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so you had a dog named Mongo. Colby had one Mongo, and then we hunt with a boy here by the house ever so often. He's got a bulldog named Mongo. It's a pretty common name.
Yep.
But
dogs are smarter than what we give them credit for. I mean, my dogs know when we're going hunting. They know when it's just feed time. I can walk out of the house routine. If I walk straight to the barn and I'm wearing a pair of shorts or whatever, they know when my hunting clothes are on.
Yeah.
They know when I'm in the barn. As soon as I unzip the collar bag and start laying collars out, man, everything comes alive in the kennel. It's all conditioned response because they've seen it, they know it, and they know what's coming.
I mean, that was part of the thing with Colby's Mongo dog. Colby spent every waking moment with that dog. That dog went with him everywhere, you
Yeah.
know. So, like when you spend that much time with the dog, if the dog's got any brain at all, you know, it's going to turn out really good. So, I mean, that dog knew what Colby expected of him, you know, at any time. But yeah, so like I was saying, so I used to hunt with this guy. He had a sure enough game bred dog who was one of those top 3 catch dogs I've ever seen. I'm trying to think of his name. I'll remember it in a bit. But I had a dog that was a little bit colder. But we would jump in the truck and leave from Oklahoma and head to South Arkansas to hog hunt for a weekend or a few days. And we would put those 2 bulldogs in the same hole of a dog box
Mm-hmm.
and never like give it a second thought.
Yeah.
They knew what we were doing.
Yeah. See, I've never. The funny thing about bulldogs, we went down the first time I hunted with Mike Colley, a buddy of mine went down with me, and had my son, and this was 15 years ago, probably at least 15. Mike was around 50 years old at the time, so he's younger than I am now. And Mike has always been extremely athletic. He's stoved up now, just age catching up with him and stuff. He has a little more hard time. But back in the day, man, that boat would hit the you pull in off the marsh, and we had a hog up and running, and we hit this bank. Mike jumps out of the boat, jumps out of the boat, and we're sitting there in the boat with a couple of young dogs. He's like, "Send those young dogs to him," and we send the young dogs to him. Those dudes hit those 7-month-old pups hit the water like black labs in a dock diving competition. I mean, they knew what was up and they were headed to it. And we realized we were on an island, and so Mike went ahead and sent the young dogs. He runs back to the boat and gets in the boat. Now we got the bulldog and dogs out running, and they bayed. They caught out there in the marsh. We go around there, and Mike's just off the boat. He's like, "I'm going to the bay. Can you bring the bulldog?" Well, Brett Vaughn, you'll be proud to hear me say this. We're a couple of damn Yankees from Indiana that never been around bulldogs.
Yeah.
And Andy's leading this bulldog along like this. Come on, boy. Come on.
Like he's in a dog
Yeah,
show.
yeah. Come on. He was scared of that bulldog, and I wasn't real crazy about him. And Mike's like, "Get that bulldog up here. He's not going to hurt you." And Mike gets wound. He would get wound up during the hunt. And we finally got up there and sent the bulldog in. And he goes, "Guys, you get that bulldog's not going to hurt you. You just got to bring it." And Andy looked at him and he goes, "Mike, where we come from, gangsters and drug dealers have pit
Yeah.
bulls.
Yeah.
They're not the same as what we're seeing down here."
Well, see, I mean, I was raised up, by like older kind of cowboys, and a bunch of them are not real fond of bulldogs. Like a lot of my family really didn't like bulldogs.
Yeah.
Uh, so I never really spent time around bulldogs, but I kind of had these like negative stereotypes put in my head.
Yeah.
So like when I first started hog hunting, I mean, I say first, I probably hunted probably the first 10 years of hog hunted. I didn't use a bulldog because I didn't even like, I was like, bulldogs are dangerous, they're crazy. And then I got to a point where I kind of needed one and I was kind of apprehensive. So my first introduction to bulldogs was probably just like 15 years ago. And it didn't take me long to realize, like, oh, you know, all these stereotypes that I kind of grew up with.
Totally backwards.
Which, I mean, now I look at it and so, like, if you go back to the early 1900s, late 1890s, there's a term for it. I can't recall it right off the top of my head right now, but bulldogs were like, especially in England, bulldogs babysit little kids.
Yeah.
Because if they're raised, if they're raised by drug dealers and thugs of course they can turn into just crazy, bite whatevers. But if they're raised right, they're super loyal and they're super protective. So yeah, I mean, they used to, when they would send the kids out to play, they would send a bulldog with them to protect them.
Yeah.
They're great dogs. I mean,
What size bulldog do you like? Is
I
there a
go,
size range? Some
I,
people are pretty particular about the bulldogs.
yeah, I mean, it all goes back to territory. So I mean, I tend to like the more uh, kind of stereotypical because game dogs are not particularly big.
Right.
So I like a 35 to 40 pound dog.
Really?
Because where we hunt, it's pretty thick.
Mm-hmm.
So a small dog can get through that underbrush without making so much noise. And I mean, the thing is, like, I mean, in my mind, a catch dog is not meant. You can put 100 pound catch dog on a pig, pound for pound, he is not gonna physically stop that hog from running. You know, a 250 pound boar hog is going to go wherever he wants to go, whether there's
Yeah.
100 pounds hanging on his ear or 45 pounds hanging on his ear.
Yep.
So I look at a catch dog as a catch dog to me is more of a distraction. So I send that catch dog in there that occupies that that pig or that dog has enough aggression to occupy that pig's brain, which gives me enough chance to slip in there and for me to take care of him. I don't I don't really want a dog that quote can like anchor this pig because I don't think you can do it. I think you'd have to have a 200 pound dog to anchor a 200 pound pig. So I'm not on the big side of it. But if a dude's out there if I'm in Western Oklahoma hunting grain fields, yeah, I'd run an 80 pound catch dog, 85 pound catch dog. But if you come back here in this thick underbrush and mountains where I'm at, and you think you're going to run an 80 pound catch dog and it's going to work, uh, you're in for some learning because it ain't going to work back here. So it all goes back to where you're at,
I
how
was
you.
trying to find a picture of our bulldog at the house. Just give people an idea. I mean, this dude, if you let him go, and it's not a hog, but he's got plenty of he's got game.
Yeah.
He there's no coon running the hills of Indiana that are going to match him. He'll make short work of it.
It comes back to style. So like a 40 pound bulldog who's been around the block and has style and knows how to control a pig. The good ones, they put their body up against the pig's body, got an ear in their mouth, they're side by side with the pig, and they'll drop their legs. Like,
just plant.
well, they don't really plant their feet in the ground.
But they just go dead weight.
They draw them up. It's dead weight.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I'm not as slick as Chris Watson on his show because I can't figure out how to transfer a photo, but we'll get there.
Yeah, you'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Bulldogs is a huge topic. Huge topic. Lots of people have, everybody has their ideas. Really, all it comes back to is whatever works for you.
Yeah, I put Donnie Huber's. Glad to see you, Donnie. Glad you joining us on Facebook. Donnie was on the podcast a few weeks ago. He's been coon hunting since 1956, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Donnie. But so he's been through it and won the Purina Points race, and we did a podcast with him a few weeks ago with Donnie Huber. So glad to see him get in there. He says and I met his bulldog when I went up there, but he's got a half bull pit, quarter cane Corso, and quarter American Staffordshire. So yeah, he was an intense looking dog. I just think they're cool, but just got so much power, so much And a good one is just now worthless one. I don't have any use for.
So much drive and so much heart. Like, so
Yeah.
I got a bulldog here at the house that I've had for probably 3 years. And, I mean, he cuts the mustard, he caught pigs, but I never really, he wasn't really high up in my book. Like, yeah, he gets the job done, but, he ain't great. I think it was a year ago, might have been 2 years ago. Me and Tanner, Cody, and our friend Derek's a dude who got copperhead bit. We caught this hog at the bottom of this mountain and we started at the top of it. Them boys are all a lot younger than I am, so they got there way before me. So, I wasn't even trying to go
Don't
fast.
let the old man in.
Well, they're just way faster than me. So I was just taking my time. I'm like,
Hmm.
they got this. Well, I get there and there was blood everywhere. And first thing I said was, "You guys killed this pig," And Derek's like, "No, we didn't kill this pig." He's like, "That's your dog's blood." And Derek kind of Derek is a coon hunter that transitioned. His dad is a world class coon hunter,
Yeah.
so he kind of
That's Donnie
transitioned.
Huber, world class coon hunter.
Yeah, he transitioned coon hunting to hog hunting. So it takes a little bit of time
Oh yeah.
to get kind of
We were
accustomed.
just coon hunters coming down to hog hunt and leading bulldogs.
Yeah. So Derek was like, "Your dog is bad." I was like, "Yeah, he's fine." I didn't think much of it. And Derek goes, "No, like your dog's dying." So, and they already had him tied back. So I walk over there to look at him. He's a totally white dog, which I don't like. That's part of the reason why I don't probably hold him in didn't used to hold him in high esteem. And so whenever he gets cut, it just looks he can get a nick
Yeah.
and it looks terrible. For where if he was a black dog,
You
you
wouldn't
wouldn't
even
even
see it.
notice the
Yeah.
blood. He had his jugular cut, and his heart would be, and I'm talking like a stream of blood as big around as your finger would go 3 feet. Oh shit. And so I got him, and like he just had a poke in his neck, and I tried to get to that vein, I couldn't get to it, so I took a knife and made the wound a little bit bigger and got in there and pinched it off with my fingers.
Hmm.
Nobody had a cut kit. Uh, so then Corey, this kid who hunts with us, who's just a maniac, he's like, "I'll run up to the truck and get a cut kit." I'm like, "Man, it is 500 yards to the top of that mountain. I'm talking mountain,
Yeah.
and then back down." And he's like, "I'm going." He takes off at a run. I'm just like holding this dog's artery shut with my fingers. And he gets back down
Was the
record time.
dog laying down at this point, or was he
No, he's
just?
standing up there barking at the pig.
He knew what you were doing though.
I don't know if he
Had
knew
to.
what I was doing. He was just focused on that pig. And then we
That's
get,
no small feat, Ed. To sit there and when a bulldog's focused on the hog and you're like
oh, I mean, I
pinched
knew
off.
if I let go, he would die.
Yeah.
So then Corey came down and we got some forceps out of my cut kit and finally got those forceps in his neck and got him on that artery.
Pinched it off.
And Tanner had a really good dog, bay dog on that pig that was in really bad shape too. He ended up dying. But so I got the dog I got the bleeding stopped with those forceps, and we had a pretty good trek back to the truck. And I was like, there ain't no way I can carry this bulldog. I'm like, he's going to have to walk. We killed the pig at this point because we had two dogs that were on death's door. Somebody Tanner was going to keep the head because we kind of figured his bay dog was going to die.
Yeah.
Typically, when a pig kills a dog, we like to keep his head. It's like
Yeah.
when you look at that European mount, you kind of remember your dog. So Tanner was going to keep the head. So we had the head cut off, and Cody put a dog lead through his mouth and was dragging him out. And I told Honky, I was like, "You're going to have to walk out of here." So I was leading him, and Cody took off. And Honky, he'd lost so much blood he could barely walk. He was staggering, and then he saw that hog head taken off,
Yeah.
and he lunged at it and grabbed an ear. He's on death's door, and he's still like focused on catching this pig. And yeah, right. I mean, that dog shot way high up in my book that day. But that's what I'm getting at. That heart that those dogs have. I mean, God, if a guy had that much
Yeah.
heart, he could do anything. They're incredible animals.
Yeah, they are. Brett chimed in here. He wants to know if I ever read comments. Well, Brett, I can't hardly see comments because I'm not wearing my glasses or out in the truck. But yeah, I see it, and I don't know who that is. So
What do you say?
he said, is there, Chris? There's an Alex Schaefer trying to get a hold of you. Something about a line of dogs you know about, and then maybe Alex Schaefer chimed in here on the comments. Brett, see, when you do these, Chris Watson is looking at the screen and you're not. I don't know. I think you probably read them when you're doing your own Q&A, but nope, I don't see an Alex Schaefer in the comments, but I'm not sure what that is. Oh, he sent me a message on Facebook. Well, Brett, if he can't figure out how to leave a message on the live, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know how to help him.
Probably about plot dogs, huh?
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, man. I've been up since way early this morning. Chris Watson said he doesn't need readers yet. It's coming, buddy. I didn't need them until when I turned 53, man. It just like the world came crashing down.
Yeah, my eyes are terrible.
Yep. But I've been up early this morning. I still got. It'd probably take me another 10 hours to get to the ranch.
You busting out early or?
Yeah, I probably will. So
yeah, I mean, next Tuesday, everybody hit us up again. We're gonna try to do this every Tuesday.
Yep. Just ramblings and talking about dog stuff. So appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll just call her quits right here. What do you think?
Yep.
All right. Like we say, always opinionated, rarely substantiated, or sometimes substantiated. I don't know.
Yeah. We think it's substantiated.
Huh?
We think it's substantiated.
Oh, yeah. It's substantiated by us for sure.
But you got to be your own judge.
Yeah. All right, guys. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. Share it with your friends. Make sure you're tuning in. All right. You guys want to shout out Brett and Chris? They do this every Monday and Wednesday night. So Chris gets a little windy sometimes. 3 hours, man. That's a long time for me to stay engaged. I got other stuff going on a lot of times.
Yeah.
But I try to tune in for part of it anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, Brett and Chris do this every Monday and Wednesday night too. So you guys appreciate it. All right. Wait. We had the last second come in. This is Alex Schaefer was looking for a good email address for you to ask about a strain of English dogs. Man, I don't know that if I can help you on an English dog, but you can try. Yeah, Donnie, I'm glad you figured it out too, man. Keep tuning in. We're here every Tuesday night. And, but anyway, chris.houndsmanxp@gmail.com or info.houndsmanxp@gmail.com, Alex. That ought to hook you up. All right, guys, we're going to tune out. We're going to cut her off and grab some shut eye. Long road trip tomorrow.
See ya.
Later.